There we are.
Yeah, here we are. Hey, everybody. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, how are you, Oriel?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing magnificent.
Oh, this is
I got to
awesome.
come up with another word. Every time somebody asks me how I am, I say magnificent. So I got to come up with another more eloquent and descriptive word to describe how I am on a regular basis.
Wow. I don't know.
My bad.
I don't know if we're going to do anything differently, but I think magnificent is good.
Okay, we'll stick with magnificent for now.
All right, that sounds like perfect magic. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. I really wanted to offer more value to Fuel members, especially. I've been doing business development for many years, and this is Women's Small Business Month. It's also the kickoff to fourth quarter, and that is very important in terms of planning, strategic adjustments, business development going into 2021. So I reached out to my good friend Stefan. Little known fact, I've known, I don't know, it's probably been 10 years or so,
Yeah,
maybe
it's been
more.
about 10 years.
Yeah. And little known fact, he was actually my first radio show producer. And so I told him, I sent him an email earlier this week, and I said, I'm getting a little nostalgic here, so on pause.
Listen, we started out doing this thing before everybody else did, didn't we?
Listen.
Yeah.
So the respect is there. So I want to make sure that that we bring the essence of those conversations and the history with our expertise to you guys. Today, we're talking about something that's in his direct wheelhouse. So Stefan is the principal consultant of Aeonian Ovia.
Good job. Good job.
And with that, he brings a wealth of knowledge. And one of his specialties is pricing, and it's something that we all struggle with. And making sure that we have the right pricing, that we're set appropriately, that people are going to want to pay, that the worth is there, the value is there. So there's so many questions and offshoots that come from a pricing. From a pricing conversation. And so I want you guys to let Facebook see your name, shoot over some comments, shoot over some questions. We will definitely have answers for you, and we'll respond even in the replay. So we'll ask some key questions, and let's get into it. What you say?
Hey, let's rock.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people, so you have to forgive me. It's a privilege to have you here. I think that with pricing, people get maybe nervous. It's a little bit of an offshoot. They don't know, is it right? Why is there so much hesitation? Why is there so much, strife when people are setting their prices?
Well, the main reason I think is because people don't take time to separate their pricing from their value, right? Understanding that pricing is a representation of perceived value for whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's a product or service. And as business owners, it's important for us to separate those two things. We have to separate our pricing from our value, even though we realize they're connected. And what I mean when I say that is people get nervous, people start to struggle, people start to worry, people start to wonder because they look at their price as a direct representation of their personal value as a person and as an organization. And they say, well, I can only charge $25 because that's all anybody's going to pay me. And what they're really saying is I can only charge $25 because that's all I truly believe my product or service is worth. Even though intrinsically we may know it's worth so much more, we're allowing people to dictate what our personal worth is and our business worth is through our pricing. And so it brings us this anxiousness when it comes to setting our pricing. And it brings us this animosity when it comes to setting our pricing that we struggle with. Well, it turns into will they accept me? It turns into that kind of feeling like, will they accept me? Will they tell me that I am worth what I think I'm worth when we're setting our prices? Yeah. And so I think that is what really leads to a lot of the struggle and a lot of the discord when it comes to trying to set pricing for our products and our services, specifically when we're talking about services. Products can be a little bit easier because you got a widget, you got a thing, you know what I'm saying? You can do some models and some testing. But when you're talking about a service that you provide, time that you invest, energy, effort, knowledge, education, things that you've done to build this ability in you, it can become sometimes daunting for people to believe or choose to have to believe
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, people are only paying $175 for something that I've struggled to become great at. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so that kind of drives the strife when it comes to pricing. I've noticed most times.
Right. And I think you touched on something earlier in your response that I'm going to go back to, and it's really the intangible value.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that when it comes to services, people are not really understanding those intangibles and how they're going to sell it.
Right.
So if they're going to sell it like, oh, I am going to do your lawn, and I bought the most sophisticated machine, and no
Mm-hmm.
one cares because at the end of the day, I just want my lawn cut. So if you use
Right.
scissors and it looks good, that's what I'm going to pay for, right? But if you say, hey, listen, this is an intangible value. I'm going to save you 2 or 3 hours every weekend, which you're going to put back into your family, or you can use it for your work or whatever have
Mm-hmm.
you, your other priorities. That's a different sales approach. And I
Right.
think that people miss what they're offering.
Well, the other thing they don't do now, moving over to the sales side, the other thing they don't do is they don't ask the potential customer, the prospect, what's valuable to them. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so because we don't bother to ask our prospects, well, what's valuable to you, we end
Right.
up missing the opportunity to approach them with the value proposition that they're looking for.
Yeah.
For instance, we were talking to a client the other day, and
Mm-hmm.
they were talking about how they have this potential to do a great big order, probably larger than they've ever had before. And
Right.
the prospect told them,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm looking at you guys because the person I'm using today can't fill the order. It's
Mm-hmm.
too big of an order for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to go back and hit the prospect with, but we can beat their price. Why are you trying to beat their price? That's not what's important to them. What's
Right.
important to them is the person that they're working with now can't make the order. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can make the order and then you begin to show how you can make the order with higher quality and more efficiency and less stress and so on and so forth, now you've reached into the thing that's valuable for them, and you've got a leg up on anybody else that's trying to sell them because you've got them telling you what their need is. You've got them telling you what their pain point is. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime you can get somebody to tell you what their pain point is, and then you can directly address that pain point with whatever your product or service is, you're
Right.
already halfway in the winning column. But none
Awesome.
of that has anything to do. Well, it's got a lot to do with pricing,
It
but
does.
it
No, it has.
starts you on the sales journey. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for everybody who's joining us. Whether you're catching us on the live or on the replay, press 1 if that was a pain point that we just touched on. That personal worth versus business worth, setting prices, understanding competition.
Yeah.
So let us know that you're here. Press a 1, and also grant Facebook, the StreamYard, the permission to use your name so that we can see who's messaging us. So we have a lot of things, a lot of comments. But we thank everybody for jumping on. So the thing is, competition, right?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
how should we react? And I say react because almost mistakenly so, where people overreact to the competition. So it's important to
Right.
know the competition, but
Mm-hmm.
people they are starting to react to the competition in a way that's either costing them because they feel like
Mm-hmm.
they're competing on that level. So
Right.
how do you react to your competition when it comes to pricing?
So I think the way you react to your competition's pricing is going to be based on the pricing strategy that you've created for your own company first, right? So you've got to take time to understand your product, understand your service, understand even the components of what it costs you to actually create this thing. How much time does it cost you to finish this process? What are your production costs in creating this product? If you're creating artwork, like you see the artwork behind me, right?
Mhm.
If you're creating artwork, what's the cost for your materials? What's the cost for your paint? What's the cost for your canvases? And how much time does it take you to conceptualize the art piece that you want to put together and then get it carried out and then have it varnished and have it printed and screened and scanned, and what does all of that take, right? Then you've got a starting point because you want to get a starting point. Then you can go look at those that are comparable to you, your competitors that are doing similar to what you're doing, and look at their price, but you also want to take a deep dive into why their price is what it is. So if I've got 5 years of experience, if they've got 45 years of experience, I can't be mad that they charge $1,000 more than I do. You know what I mean? Because they've got a resume, hopefully, and a background that shows that they are worth this amount of money.
Right.
And so it's important that we don't react to our competitors' prices, but that we respond to them appropriately, that we take a measured approach to give a strategic and congruent response to whatever their price is, because we want to use their price not as a way to tell us what our price should be, but as a guide for what we know our product or service is worth, based on, so you look at a couple of different factors, right? One, what we know our product or service is worth. Two, what it cost us to create this product or service. Three, what our competitors are now charging for this product or service. And four, what the market has determined it's willing to pay, right? And you get into these places of economics, right, where you get the quantity of the product demanded versus the price of the product tells you what the equilibrium is, which will let you know what the market is willing to pay for this product. And you kind of do this, algorithm of understanding to try to figure out, okay, so I know that I believe my product is worth $1,400, right? And then I see that it costs me, $900 to produce this product, or $1,000 to produce this product. So I've got a $400 markup on my product, right? And then I look at my competition, and my competition is charging somewhere between $900 and $2,000 for this product. So now I recognize that I'm in the range, right? And then I have to look at my specific market, not everybody who's buying this, but what does my market intend to pay for my particular product? And if I do that research and I find out that my market is paying somewhere around $1,200, which is below the $1,400 that I think I'm worth, then I know I need to back my price up maybe about $100, because you don't want to always be cheaper than everybody else,
right?
Especially if you're providing something of high value. And so I know then that I want to back my price up a little bit, but I also want to test the market and see, so long answer to your question is we don't want to react to our competitors' prices. We want to respond strategically to them and allow them to be a guide for us as we are developing our own pricing strategy and our own pricing model.
Yeah, a lot of meat there with using the competition as a guide and letting that carry us through with our pricing. I think people are afraid to go after their full value.
Yeah.
And it's very hurtful, right? So you need to continue to understand what you're putting into it, and don't be afraid to have people pay for your level of expertise, because it's like as professionals, especially in the consulting business, if you're worth your salt, you've invested in yourself. Poured money into your education, the case studies that you've gone through, and you're delivering that value to your clients. And so there's a formula there that has to be respected. So you have to know who your market is, which kind of brings us to targeting. So if you're going to price, it should be to target the right customer.
So I was going to say, I want to talk real quick about pricing overall, right? So I prepared some things for us to take a look at. I don't know if you can pull that up for me. But I want to talk a little bit about what pricing is and what it does, right? Because sometimes we don't take a look at why pricing actually matters, right? And so we want to look at, why does pricing actually matter, right? So one of the things that pricing does is, when you found the perfect price for your product or service, it creates loyalty from your customer, right? Your customers can become loyal, they're loving, they're never going to leave you. They're going to be advocates for your business because the price is exactly what meets their needs, right? Another thing that pricing does is it helps you to set the standard, right? And we can give proof of why pricing creates loyalty. Real quick, we'll back up. Give proof of why pricing creates loyalty. One of the reasons it creates loyalty is if you look at how many times you've chosen to avoid a company because of how they handled their pricing, right? We look at airline seating, right? If you've ever squeezed into a little tiny seat that was cheaper because the largest seat would be an additional $20 and you didn't feel like it was worth $20 for the extra seat, right? Or bank fees. How many people have checked their bank statement to see some unexpected fees, right? Portion sizes when we go out to buy things. You know what I'm saying? You go to the restaurant, you get the super large portion of really good food, and their price for that portion is something that creates loyalty for you. Any kind of discounts or promotions or anything that you get like that helps to create loyalty for your customers because of what the pricing is. Think about it like this. When was the last time you talked about the person who did something wrong at the company, right? So you went to, let's say you got on a plane, right? And you're on this plane and the customer service was horrible and the person just wasn't moving quick enough and they weren't what you expected. Now, all of a sudden, it's not the ticket agent or the flight attendant that you have a problem with. It's Delta. Delta's price is not worth what you got. The whole organization is now subject to ridicule and disloyalty because the price didn't match what we were expecting, right? Mm-hmm. And so when your price is set properly, you can create loyalty with your customers. Certain things that pricing does for you is that it generates profit, of course, because we're in the business to generate profit. Mm-hmm. It qualifies your customer. When your price is set correctly, it tells you whether your customer is the right customer for you, right? Let me slow down a little bit. So when you have the right price, it allows you to see if you're working with the right people. If I'm selling something, we'll go back to what we're talking about, the $1,400 service, right? If I'm selling a service for $1,400 and you can't afford this service, you're only prepared to pay $500. I understand you're not my customer. Mm-hmm. Every customer is not your customer, and your price helps to pre-screen those people who are not your customers. Here's a secondary aspect to that. $1,400 is the price. $900 is what they can afford to pay, but they want what I have so bad that they'll go find the other $500. Now they've qualified themselves to be your perfect customer, right? Another thing that pricing does is that it establishes value. The price that you offer communicates to your customers every single time they read it, and it lets them know the value that they can expect from your organization, okay? Or from this particular product or service. And then one of the last things that it does is it creates trust. The right price set at the right level gives a level of trust between you and your customers. Mm-hmm. For instance, I'm going to call my wife out for a moment. One thing she does, she buys things that are a little more on the pricey side sometimes, right? But it's because she has a trust that if I'm paying this price, I am paying for a certain level of quality. Value. This price has now set a trust level on her for the quality of the service or the product that she's going to receive. She now has a greater level of trust because the price was set at the proper place for her, right? So these are some of the things that pricing does for us. And it also sets the expectation for the customer's experience, right? And this is something I want to make sure I want to read this because this is a very important aspect. Customers will set invisible, imaginary expectations for your company in their minds solely based on your price point. I want everybody to grab that. When your customer sees your price, they immediately set an invisible and imaginary expectation for your company. When you go somewhere, and I used to always tell people, go to McDonald's, don't expect 5-star service, right? So if you go somewhere, you get a $1 hamburger, you have an expectation. You have an invisible, imaginary expectation that this is just food that I'm going to consume. It's not anything magnificent. It's not going to be delectable. It's not gourmet. It's just something to eat. But if I go to the gourmet burger place and I'm spending $27 for a burger, not just the fries, but the burger, right? I have a different imaginary expectation for my customer experience, right? And so these preconceived ideas are not always in line with reality, but they are always set by the company, or excuse me, by the customer whenever they see what your price is. Sorry, I went on a long tangent.
But it's powerful, right? It's powerful because it speaks to value, right? Mm-hmm. And it means something different for everybody. Right. You know, it's kind of like when people talk about like a luxury item, and then you really have to acknowledge that one person's luxury is not another person's luxury.
Right.
That's the honest truth, right? So you have to understand, you know, where the benchmark is for the value that you're providing.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, you can take that out. I just wanted to say that real quick. We might come back to some more of it later.
Okay.
If we have time.
All right. All right, we'll do that. That's good content. Um,
Hmm.
so let's say that we found pricing helped us to establish our target market. We've done our research, we understand our competitors.
Right.
But then it comes a time where you may have to adjust, right?
Hmm.
So um, how do you adjust your prices when the time comes?
Without reservation.
Mm,
Adjust your prices without reservation. Like, seriously, don't hold
okay.
back. Don't second guess. Don't, especially if you're just starting out. Okay. So if you're just starting your business out, do not hold back reservation for adjusting your prices, whether it's going up or down.
Hmm.
Why? Because you have, especially just starting out, you have not established a market large enough that you're going to get 16,000 people that are never going to buy from you again because you raised your price by $1, right?
Right.
So you want to be able to adjust your prices without reservation. Do it liberally, right? Secondarily, you want to do it in a testing fashion, right? And this is something that we've done at Aeonian Ovia just recently. We have a membership model that we
Mhm,
work with where you can become what we call an elite entrepreneur, right?
mhm,
You come in, you're an elite entrepreneur. There's a free version, there's the elite plus version, there's the premier version, and there's the premier plus version. And
mhm.
over the course of the past 4 to 6 months, we've adjusted the prices for those models 3 times already, right? The people that joined at the price that they joined at, they get to stay at that price, right? But people that are coming in, we're testing to see where the sweet spot is so we can find the perfect price for our particular product. So when you're releasing something new, you always have the opportunity to do some testing, do
Yeah.
some test phases, find out what works perfectly for your customers, and
Mhm,
don't be afraid not only to adjust the price, but
mhm.
to adjust what's provided for the price, right?
Right.
So, one of the adjustments we made recently was not that we changed the price, we changed what you got for the price that you were paying, right?
Mhm.
And so, you always want to be open to adjusting your prices because the beauty of it is you can always change them back, right? If you raise your price, let's say you're charging $100 for something and you raise the price to $150 and you find out nobody's buying it at $150. Now
Right.
you've got the strategic opportunity to run a sale for $50 off the thing that you were charging $100 for to begin with, right? And so now you create a sense of urgency for people that have never seen the product before. And they
Mhm.
say, well, it was originally $150. Now it's $100. That's more in my price range. You know $100 works because that's what you were charging before. And now
Mhm.
you get the opportunity to bring in new customers that might not have ever looked at you if they didn't feel like they were getting some added benefit by taking you up on the offer right now, right?
Mhm.
And so even if you lower your price, right, and you
Right.
realize this is too low, we're not covering our cost, so on and so forth, you can
Yeah.
always change the price and raise it back up, you know. And so don't ever be afraid of adjusting your price. Adjust your price without reservation, but always adjust your price strategically. Don't
Mhm.
just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that it fits and
Right.
sticks, right?
Yeah.
Have a strategic model, have an expectation and understanding of what you expect to happen once this price changes and why you expect that to happen. And once you've developed that, you'll feel more comfortable about making the change and then about reversing the change if you have to.
Yeah. And that all makes sense. Drop a number two if you guys have any questions on a price adjustments. So drop a number two if that really hit you, and adjusting your price has been something that's been a bit of a pain point. Sometimes it can be, we get into the habit of competing on price, and
Mm-hmm.
then you become the bargain basement of your industry, and then that's just not a healthy place to be. You don't want
Right.
to you train your customer to wait for your promo code, and that's not a
Right.
healthy place to be.
So you don't want that.
Yeah. So I've had that in, we have other, businesses outside the consultancy, and some of them are more, customer facing with that rapid flow in the food
Mm-hmm.
industry. And you have to, people will wait. So you definitely don't want to just, oh, they'll release a coupon. I'll just wait till the next holiday, because
Right.
what does it do to your formula? You still have cost of
You
goods
do
sold,
it. Yep.
inventory. You still have employees. So there is that strategy, the strategic mindset behind it is that right there. If you that please everybody understand that you can't just do it
Right.
on a whim. We have a
Mm-hmm.
that just came in from Jessica, and it says, what is your thought on a promo for pre-sale?
So when you're doing a pre-sale, I personally believe doing pre-sales in separate tiers, right? So you want to make sure that you give something special to the person that buys first. But that doesn't always have to be a discount. It can be any type of added benefit, right? So let's say you're selling a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to make the book 10% off because you're doing a pre-sale.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign the book. You can send a autographed picture. You can send a copy of some, draft that you created when you were writing the book. You can add notes on the back end of the book. There are 100 different things that you can add that is an added benefit to buying it early that the person who buys it late won't get. And it doesn't have to be a discount. In our consulting, we always advise our customers, go regular price first. Find out how the market reacts to regular price. And then if a discount is necessary, then introduce the discount. You don't want to set the standard of discounting, as O just said a few moments ago. You don't want to set the standard of, well, it started off 10% off, and so I'm going to wait for the next thing to be 10% off because I already know this is how they roll. They do discounts in their promos, right? And so find something that you can add as a benefit to the thing that you are offering in the pre-sale. If you're selling watches, for instance, right? And you're pre-selling these watches, then you can add, a different color to the watch that you can get. Maybe the pre-sale says, this watch has a brown band, right? Maybe in the pre-sale, you can choose between a red band, a blue band, and a brown band. But if you don't do pre-sale, you're only going to get brown and blue. You don't get to get red, Even for people who aren't going to choose red, the appearance that I have the opportunity and the freedom to make a choice in what I'm purchasing is going to be perceived as value to them. And so even though they're going to pick brown anyway, the fact that they can choose between red, blue, and brown is going to make them see the pre-sale as a reason to go ahead and buy now. Because if I don't buy now, I'm not going to choose and I'm going to be stuck with the color that I was going to pick anyway. I know it sounds weird, but it's how people's minds work when it comes to selling them, right? Yeah. And so try to find some type of added benefit beyond the discount. And then you can also run a discount, because you can then say, tier number 2. Okay, so pre-sale 1 had these 3 added benefits to it. Tier number 2, we removed the added benefits, but you get 5% off. Well, 5% isn't as beneficial to what I was going to buy as these 3 extra things that I was going to get.
Right.
But it still gives them something to feel like, okay, I'm in this mix. I've still got some time. I've still got some pre-sale time. I want to jump in first. And then, everybody else gets regular price.
Yeah, that's powerful. It makes a lot of sense. So a couple things that I want to reemphasize is the personalization, because everybody wants to feel that emotional connection. We all know that a Mercedes breaks down just as much, if not more so, than other units, right? But they have sold the emotion and they have sold that feeling. And being a part of that, fraternity is so attractive that we're willing to take those risks versus a price, right? For a car that would essentially do the same thing, right?
Yes.
As needed. So that personalization with your brand and your product and people being able to trust it, and they're part of your tribe, and they can say, hey, I know you, Stefan, I can call you. Would you come on my show? You feel to be a part of the movement and the tribe. So that's very powerful. When we purchased a restaurant and, it was more of a re-grand opening because they were open previously. One of the things they did during that first grand opening, it's hilarious to me, was they gave the first, I believe it was like 20 people, $500 gift cards.
Whoa.
So right. So then after the coming in and using these cards, and so, it was a pain point where we had to say, well, this card is no longer valid.
Yeah.
So a couple things happen, on the side of, the value. So now it looks like you've sold more than you have. And now people are out there with a lot of money on the street. That's going to take away from your product. Right. So pricing is very important. And also feeling like, sometimes you have to make the hard decisions in a price correction in order to be successful. Right. And I don't want people to, ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important. The personalization, being able to make the tough decisions with confidence, as you would say, without reservation, because your pricing is the tool used to create your value.
Well, I'm also glad that you talked about the emotional response. So, if you could pull up the slide that's up right now, we'll talk about that real briefly. So, understand that every price elicits an emotional response from the person that is purchasing, right? Sometimes it's a grand emotional response, sometimes it's a small emotional response, but there's always an emotional response that is elicited from the person who's purchasing. Somebody paying $30,000 for a Rolex or $250,000 for a Bentley has an emotional response to doing that. One lawyer gets $50 an hour, the other lawyer gets $800 an hour. There's an emotional response, just like I had when Oriel said they gave away a $500 gift card. I had an emotional response immediately. Every price elicits an emotional response. And as business owners, as entrepreneurs, it's important for us to learn how to manage the emotional responses that are being elicited by our prices, right? And what I mean by manage them is, we have to recognize, one, what the emotional response is that's being released. And two, we have to guide that emotional response into a yes, right? At the end of the day, our desire is for people to see our product, our service, and our price, and then say yes. And sometimes they need a little bit more coaching, and sometimes they're ready to go immediately. But we always want to end with a yes. And so if I walk into a pizzeria and I find out that a regular large pizza is $45, boom, emotional response. Whoa, $45 for a large pizza, right? But if the marketing and the signage and the things in the restaurant then guide that emotional response and tell me why it's $45, what's so much greater about this pizza than anybody else, right? The ingredients are locally sourced, they're all organic, they're all grass-fed beef, you know what I'm saying? Like all of these different aspects that will let you know, wow, okay, this pizza might actually be worth $45. And then when I walk in the door and I see $45, the first thing I get is somebody who greets me. Hello, and how are you today? And I hope you're doing well. And they lead me to my seat and they give me, a warm towel to wipe my hands off with. Now this emotional response of $45 is beginning to be calmed a lot. We are guiding the emotional response into a yes, where this person originally said to themselves, I ain't paying $45 for nobody's pizza, right? That's crazy. But now they're saying, wow, this experience. Remember, we talked about the price setting and customer expectations for their experience. This experience has now massaged the $45 to where maybe they don't get the $45 large, but they're more comfortable paying the $37. You know what I'm saying? For the almost large pizza. Right. We've still gotten them where we want them, which is to a yes. It wasn't with the initial product that we put out there, but we were able to guide that emotional response and allow that thing to lead them to a yes, right?
Right.
Real quick, the other thing I want to mention on that is value, right? When we're talking about your business and your price, recognize that you have to take a look at the value position for your business, right? And so we want to real quick run through the 5 basic business value positions, right? If you are pricing your business, these are the 5 places that you're going to price your business most of the time, right? 1 is lowest price around. That's where Walmart got us. Has anybody ever noticed that Walmart's not the lowest price anymore? But they hooked us for 10 years by telling us we will always be the lowest price that you ever see anywhere, right? We've got that in our minds now to the point where we expect Walmart to be the lowest and we don't even bother to check anymore. We just, if I want something and I want it cheap, if one of the first places I'm going to look is Walmart, right? So lowest price around. This is those who are looking to squeeze out every dime out of life. They are the clients that want the most for the least. Low price positions are easy to explain to them, right? And these are valuable customers. They're not lower tier customers. They buy a lot of stuff. They do volume. They just do it at a small price, right?
Right.
The second value position is your premier product or service. These are the people that research to define exactly what they want. They know what it looks like. Customer doesn't really care about price. They want to know that they are getting something that nobody else can get. They're getting something that few other people have. They're getting a premier. When when Lexus first came out, and it was the epitome of luxury, and luxury defined was their tagline. And it was all about you're getting something that nobody else is getting. These butter soft leather seats that the Hyundai doesn't have. That's what you're getting here, right?
Yeah.
So the third place is we make life easier. This is the one that O was talking about when she was talking about getting your lawn mowed, the grass cut, the landscaper, right? I don't have to be out in the hot Florida sun for 2 to 3 hours every weekend cutting my grass because you're making my life easier. This customer wants to know that they're going to save time and energy and effort. They want to know that this is going to make their life simpler so they can do more of the things that they really want to do in their life, right?
Right.
This position must be so plain. When you are working this model, you have to make it so plain that they don't have to think, because remember, they want life easy. So they don't want to have to think about it either. They want to look and know this is going to save me time, energy, effort. The answer is yes. So you don't want them to have to think about it. Just buy and go. This is the customer that believes they need you. If you can create a need where there isn't one, this is your customer, the make life easier customer, right? The fourth model is the we produce results customer, right? This is the person that says, I can do it better than anybody else out there. There's 100 people out there doing it. There's 1 trillion people out there doing it, but nobody's going to do it as great as I do it. My company is going to be better than anybody else out there, so you should pay me to do it. This speaks to the people who are looking to get things done with little thought and zero worry, because they know you're going to be top of the notch. You're going to be number one. You're going to be the one that's going to do it better than anybody else around, right? And then the fifth pricing model, which is the one most companies are walking in today, which is the we go above and beyond pricing model. This is the Chick-fil-A model. This is the my pleasure. This is the at your service. This is the way more than you could have imagined when you sat down. This is the, listen, this chicken sandwich might be $18, but I don't care because they made me feel good about myself when I walked in to get this chicken sandwich, right? Despite the price, the customer feels like they got more than they ever expected. Each one of these pricing models is going to promote your company to other people. The people that want the lowest price around are going to go around and tell everybody. There are whole Facebook groups about finding the lowest price around. They're going to tell everybody, this person has the lowest price. Go get it there. Same with the person that's above and beyond. They're going to tell everybody, I went there and it was way above and beyond everything I ever expected. Go there. And everybody in between is going to do the same. So these are the 5 basic pricing models that you want to look at with your business, your service, your products, and try to find your space in one of these 5 places.
This is really good stuff. And I don't think that people really break it down to the different ways to price, right? Because you're coming from a different perspective, and then we're touching on targeting. How do you target the customer to match one of these 5 pricing models that you're in? One of the most powerful points that you made was creating, and I use that example of an iPhone where you create the need. Right. So all of a sudden, now we need, because of iPhone, now we need to have a camera on our phones. We were perfectly fine bringing our Canon with us.
Everywhere.
Right. We didn't even know. And now it's like, well, that's just extra. We don't need that. But we need the iPhone to get the quality on our phones. You know,
Android. Android. Oh, sorry.
Android.
Had something right here.
That's one of the biggest, debates right now in the market. So with all of that, even, we take it locally, we're based here in Orlando, and people can relate to this, like Magic Dining Month, right? So it's great for tourism, and you get access to some of the finest restaurants on a basic menu. So you get to choose what they tell you can choose. Can I have the caviar? No, because it's not on the menu for Magic Dining Month. And they don't expect that customer to necessarily come back, but they were able to get the message of how good of an experience you could have, and so become part of their marketing budget. So if you do have to adjust your prices, or you do have a blowout sale, or you do some kind of event that is a cost, if it's offset with a valuable marketing budget and those people are converted, whether they are cheerleaders, because cheerleaders are just as important as our customers and our fans. If you have a cheerleader there that can spread the word and you get residual dollars, you have served your company well.
Right. Okay, you can take that one down now.
All right, good stuff. So what about bundling your products. How do you feel about bundling products? Is it worth it?
It depends on what you're selling.
Yeah.
When you are selling complementary products, I believe it's a good idea to offer a bundle. Not offer only a bundle, but offer also a bundle, right?
Okay.
One of the mistakes that we make when we are bundling products is we do bundle only. And you can get these three things, and that's the only thing that we're offering. No, you
Right.
always want to offer, you can get the cell phone by itself, or you can get the cell phone and the case and the protection plan. And if you do all three of them, this is what the price is, and this is what it's saving you. And we always, again, when we're talking about pricing, we want our prices to be strong. We want our prices to be foundational. We want our prices to be structural, right? And so using the idea of the cell phone, right? So you've got the cell phone, the case, and the protection plan. We talk about how much money you'll save by getting them all three together, right? But let's talk about how much time you'll save. You don't have to go find a case that works with your phone, because we know this case works with your phone.
Right.
It's a perfect match because it's the one that we're providing. The protection plan is providing you ease of mind. It's providing you ease of worry. You don't have to worry about what happens to your phone. So we're selling those instead of always selling less money, less money, less money, right? Because here's the truth. And this is what we have to remind ourselves.
Right.
They can go find less money anywhere.
Yeah.
They can go find less money anywhere. There's always somebody doing it cheaper than you. If you don't believe me, ask anybody that designs websites or graphics. There's always somebody who's doing it cheaper for you. Ask anybody who's a makeup artist. There's always somebody that'll do a whole face of makeup for $14.25 and a bag of chips, right? Yeah. And there's always going to be somebody who's ready to take that offer. So we don't want to always focus so much on how much cheaper we can be. We want to focus on the value that we're giving based on the price that we're offering. So bundle as well as offer the individual products or the individual service, and then sell why your price is the right price based on what this bundle offers, not just on the fact that the bundle is going to save them money.
Right. Right. We have a question if this presentation, people love the presentation, so if it's going to be available to take notes on, but the replay is going to be in the Fuel group. So if you are a Fuel member, then you already have access and you'll see the replay when you're ready and you can take your notes.
Right.
So that just goes to more value that we're providing here. So thank you so much. So let's see. We've covered the target market. We've covered competition. We've covered creating value and distinguishing ourselves. I'd love you to touch more on that distinction and differentiation, or touch on anything else that would be key as we wrap up. Anything else that would be key to everybody being able to leave. And remember, we're providing you are executable. So when you're done watching this, I want to sit down, I'm going to review my product list, and I'm going to price. What else should we be thinking about?
So there's four main places that we want to look at, right? We want to look at, as we talked about, we want to start with, what does it cost for me to make this thing, right? What does it cost for me to create this product or offer this service? And then we want to see, well, what are the different options and choices that our customers have available to them? And where do we fit inside those options and choices? So that's where we talked about what the market is doing. And we talked about what your competition was doing, right? And then from there, we want to look at, well, okay, so what is our margin going to be? How much profit is it necessary for us to take on this particular product or service? And how much do we just want to have on top of that? And does that still fit inside of what the market is expecting? And then from there, we want to make sure that we have differentiated ourselves with the value that we're providing in this product. Does the value differentiation of our product and service justify the margin that we've attached to this particular product or service, right? So if we're saying we're going to mark it up by $4, well, have we created a differentiation space that is large enough or grand enough to justify pushing it up by $4? So those are the four main places. That's kind of like your basic formula for how to set your price, right? And then from there, you want to ask yourself some really easy questions. You ask, well, how do I know if my price is too low? Well, customers will let you know if your price is too low. When customers don't seem to find value in your offerings and you can't cover how much it costs you to actually make this thing, then you know your price is too low, right? Again, we talked about raising your price. When do I know to raise your? When do I know? How do I know when to raise my price? That's the question. How do I know when to raise my price? Raise your price. Today is when you raise your price. Always be willing to raise your price. Always be willing to get the value out of your product that you have in your product. And I'm going to say that. Be willing to get the value out of your product that you have in your product. And so you always want to be willing to raise your price. Just be sure that you don't insult your customers with your price raise. You have to know if the differentiation factor is great enough to justify the margin that you put on top of that price, right? And then you want to talk about the value in the market. Those are the safest routes to go when you're looking at your prices. Always check what the value is versus what the market is demanding of you, right? Finally, to wrap kind of things up, you don't ever want to hide your prices, right? Prices should not be something that you're hiding from your customer. Your price communicates to your customer. It communicates to your customer. Your price speaks, and it speaks loudly. And you don't want to mute or silence one of your greatest communicators in your business. And so you don't want to hide your price. Now, I understand not putting all your prices on your website. We don't advise everybody puts all your prices on your website, things like that, right? There is a selling aspect to getting people to contact you, right? In order to be able to find out what the price is. But that also depends on what you're selling. If you're selling, chicken plates, just tell them how much the chicken plate is. They don't have to inbox you to find out how much the chicken plate is, because the price of that chicken plate, them recognizing I shouldn't have to inbox you for this. And then them knowing what the price is going to communicate something to them. Remember, your price communicates, right? And so you don't want your customer to have to find your price or have to dig through or have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to find out what the price is. This goes to you knowing what your price is. Now, I'm specifically talking to service providers now. People who build products are pretty good at this. But service providers, you must know what your price is. If nothing else, you must have an established range of price that you can choose depending on the person you're sitting in front of. I understand this can be difficult in some selling situations because you want to feel out the client, you want to check the prospect, you want to see where their budget is and how they can, because you're trying to land the sale. But number one, if they tell you their budget is outside of your price range, then they're not your customer. And it's okay that they're not your customer. You don't have to bring everybody in. You're so busy. Sometimes we find ourselves so busy trying to land this customer that we're ignoring the 3 other customers that will actually pay the price that we're asking. Right. And so you want to make sure that you are knowing your price. If somebody asks you how much is it to get a website, you should be able to tell them websites run $15,000 to $4,000, depending on what size, what kind, and all this other kind of stuff. Okay. $15,000 to $4,000. That now opens a conversation because it's communicated something to them. Opens a conversation so you can determine what their needs are, what they're looking for, how much you can provide. You can then communicate to them your value proposition, your unique value proposition, the thing that sets you apart from everybody else. That's based on one of those 5 pricing models that we talked about, right? And this brings your client or your prospect to a closer level of yes. Remember, the goal is to always get them to say yes. You want to utilize your pricing in a manner to where they can't say anything but yes.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to get a series of yeses as you are having conversations with your clients. And so for the service providers, it's very important that you know what your price is, right? And then remember that your price also protects your customer, right? It's insurance for the customer. Like we talked about the trust value earlier, the trust factor earlier. When your customer sees a particular price, they trust that it's coming with a particular customer experience. So this price protects your customer and allows them to know that they're going to get what they're looking for. So pricing it seems very simple, but it is a very deep aspect of what we do in our businesses. And we need to treat it with the honor that it deserves because it determines everything when you're talking about what you're going to be selling to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Key
Mhm.
points. You don't want to prioritize landing the sale
Right.
over finding your target customer. And
Right.
I think that we fall into that, especially newer entrepreneurs who are,
Hmm.
convincing themselves, can I do this?
Right.
And then
Exactly.
it circles back to point one is understanding this is not tied to your personal worth. This is
Right.
your business, service, or product and what that's offering.
Right. Because what happens is when we land the sale, it makes us feel good about us. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
we did it. But did we? If it's under what we're valued at, right?
Right.
If my service is valued at 3,000, but I landed a sale at 1,800, did I really accomplish anything?
Right.
Even though I feel the endorphins and the dopamine of the conquer of landing the sale, right? I
Mhm.
achieved. I took the spear and I hit the bison and I got him, right? But then when I find out that the bison is malnourished and diseased and it's got
Mhm.
worms and all this kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
then you look up, you go, I'm doing all of this for $1,800. Like, why did
Right.
I do this?
Absolutely not.
You
What's
know?
the value of your time? It's like people
Right.
who like to tie things up in litigation. And
Yes.
really, what is the value of your time? And
Hmm.
and all that makes a difference. That mental shift makes a difference.
Right.
There's so much more that we can talk about. We can
Yeah.
talk about, our strategy when it's a business to business customer versus
Hmm.
consumer customer, very
Right.
different approaches and the algorithms that we use just to develop that. We
Mhm.
could talk about your viable content, minimum, maximum viable content, what that
Right.
looks like. What can you put out in the market while you're building your other
That's
products?
right.
And all that takes a delve and it affects your pricing. So pricing, we are giving you, again, resources that you can use. But when you're looking for a more holistic conversation, I'm asking you to reach out to us and we'll be able to continue that conversation. Stefan, where can everyone find you?
So the easiest way to find us right now, you can go to our website, which is aeonianavia.com. But we recognize nobody can spell Aeonian Avia but us, right? So you can go to breathelifeintobusiness.com. If you go to breathelifeintobusiness.com, you can see all of the resources that we have available there at Aeonian Avia. You can become an elite entrepreneur. Just go to aeonianavia.com/join. Go to breathelifeintobusiness.com/join, and you can become an elite entrepreneur. It gives you access to our groups. It gives you
Mhm.
access to our school, which is called the Brilliance Institute, and all of the courses that come along with that. And it gives you access to Joy and myself, which Joy is my business partner. And we can help you move your business to the next level. We specifically try to work with businesses that are in rapid growth areas or startup areas or reorganization areas, because they're most likely to be able to implement some of the things that we consult on. But anybody who's looking to go further, faster, we can help you do that.
Absolutely. And I'll vouch for that. I am the Small Biz Engine. You can catch me at thesmallbizengine.com. I am happy to talk to anybody from a conceptual stage into a growth phase. And it's just what we do. I am excited, excited, excited about offering more value and everybody who's joining. Thank you so much for the feedback and the questions. If this benefited
Absolutely.
you in any way, if you want more information, drop a 3 in the comments and then we will get back to you. Also, please continue to comment in the replay. You can still do #replay. We'll know if you were live, if you replay, and then we'll reach out to you and answer your questions that way.
And I'll go into the comments as well and drop some comments. If you have questions, I'll go in and answer. And you can always just inbox me on Facebook, or hit me up here in the group. I'm a part of the Fuel group as well. So, check us out and we can definitely help. And even if it's not about helping your business go further, if you want to get a virtual cup of coffee and just sit and chat and talk about, how crazy life is right now, we can do that too.
Yeah. And there's something about Fuel that I want to always be a differentiator. We are for everybody. We're not going to exclude anyone. And we believe that there's no weak link. We believe that we are going to grow together and we're going to help each other. So everyone has a genuine agenda of assisting and offering.
Right.
So if there's anything you need, please post it in the group. We're happy to have that dialogue with you. And we will talk to you soon. We're going to end this broadcast. Stefan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Again, I'm also going to extend, I'll call it my extended family now, Joy, who's your business partner.
Yes.
Filling you out. You guys have a great partnership. So I'm so proud of all the work that I see that you're doing and all the businesses and the lives that you're touching. So
Yes.
let's do bigger, better, and more business. And thank you so much. It's been a
All right.
pleasure.
See
All
you guys
right.
later.
Bye, everybody.